What if your ancestors' gods were not demons, but the roots of your own faith? Why do history books and churches stay silent on the African gods when their names once echoed across continents? Picture this. A worn page scorched at the edges trembles beneath the flicker of an old candle. Ashes from an ancient story brush against your fingertips. Somewhere, a distant drum beats, its rhythm fading but not lost. The air feels thick, mysterious, as if a treasure lies hidden just beneath the dust of time. Tonight, I want to invite you to the fire. Let's sit together, just you and me, in the shadows where stories survive, when the world tries to burn them away. We'll peel back the pages others tried to erase. We'll follow the echoes of sacred names, the gods of Nubia, Kemet, Ashanti, Yoruba, and the hidden roots that pulse beneath the surface of every faith that survived. You've heard the legends, but what if the truth is deeper, older, and more dangerous than you ever imagined? What if the spiritual history you inherited was rewritten not by accident, but by power, by fear, by those who hoped you'd forget? This is not just a story about Africa. It's not just about mythology or ancient rituals. It's about identity, memory, and a longing inside all of us to know where we truly come from. It's about what happens when people are told their sacred stories don't matter and what it means to reclaim them. Tonight, we journey from shadow to flame. We search for what was lost and what is still waiting to be reclaimed, not as an outsider, but as a seeker, someone ready to question, to wonder, and to see the world with new eyes. Are you ready to step through this door? Are you willing to question, to feel, to imagine what your ancestors wanted you to remember? Then turn the page with me. If this sparks something in your spirit, drop your thoughts, your memories, or a story from your family in the comments below. Like and subscribe to join our journey at the Prophecy Vault, where every root matters and every story deserves to be heard. Because tonight, we don't just remember history, we reclaim it. Are you ready to see the story beneath the story? Could your first image of God look like you? Not just in your imagination, but in the way your ancestors saw the divine, face to face under starlit skies, beside rivers that remembered their names. Let the drums begin deep and low, echoing across a desert where firelight flickers on the faces of the old and the young. Tonight, a boy stands at the edge of the circle. He can smell the smoke, feel the warmth on his skin, see the dark gleam of the statue. Osiris with kind, knowing eyes, Ma'at standing in balance, Amun-Ra crowned by the rising sun. His mother's hand rests gently on his shoulder. She whispers a prayer, one passed down for generations, voice trembling with pride and awe. The boy looks up, really looks, at the statue's face, carved in the image of people he knows, people who share his skin, his hair, his story. In that moment, he is not just a witness, but a participant, woven into the sacred fabric that stretches from Nubia to Egypt, across Kush along the Nile. He belongs. The sun will rise soon over Nubia's sands, turning everything to gold. But for now, the night holds its own magic. The elders tell stories by the campfire, stories of gods who walked with people, who taught them to honor water and fire, to use the drum as prayer, to see every river, tree, and star as sacred. Even the silence feels alive, thick with invisible voices, the ancestors watching, listening, guiding. What does it mean to see yourself reflected in the divine? To know your God is not a stranger, not a conqueror, not someone from far away, but kin, one whose face you could almost touch. It's a feeling of belonging, so deep it changes everything. Not just pride, but peace, as if the world is suddenly wider and warmer, and your own place in it is secure. This isn't just a myth. It's history. It's Ethiopia and Cush, name in the Bible. Isaiah 18, Psalm 68, Zephaniah 3. Ancient lands at the heart of sacred stories. It's the Queen of Sheba crossing the world to seek Solomon's wisdom, Simon of Cyrene bearing the cross beside Christ, living proof that African faces are woven through the holiest moments in Scripture. Do you see the overlap? How the rituals echo across continents and centuries? The washing with water, the lighting of fire, the sound of drums, the laying on of hands, the cry of prayer rising like incense. God walks with His people always, no matter where they come from. Imagine now an American teenager, African American, Caribbean, Ethiopian, Nubian, sitting in church or scrolling through stories online, discovering for the first time that their ancestors believed they were not separate from God, but mirrors of the divine. What would it do to a soul that has always felt left out, forgotten, erased? Would it spark pride or healing or a longing to know more? Would it change how they see themselves, how you see yourself? If your first image of God looked like you, would you see yourself differently? Have you ever felt your story was left out? What does it mean, truly, to belong not just to a nation, but to the Spirit that made you? In this world, we are so often taught that the sacred is distant, unreachable, owned by others, found only in foreign tongues or pale faces. But what if instead the truth is that you are a reflection of the sacred? That the ancestors who danced around the fire, singing, drumming, telling stories, were keeping the memory alive not just for themselves, but for you? Pause here. Feel the rhythm of the drums softening as the fire burns low. The faces of the ancestors flicker in and out of shadow, their eyes warm with the wisdom of 1,000 years. The boy sits quietly, his gaze lingering on the face of the God that looks like him. Somewhere, halfway around the world, another young person wonders the same thing. Could I be part of this story too? Could the image of God be hidden in the curve of my cheek, the texture of my hair, the sound of my voice when I pray? Listen, the night is almost over. The embers glow red, the last drumbeat echoes into silence. All that remains is a question, gentle, persistent, life-changing. What if we are not separate from the divine, but a reflection of it? What if the oldest stories, the ones left out, torn from the pages, are waiting for us to remember, to reclaim, to become whole again? Let the fire fade. The camera lingers on the boy's searching eyes, doubtful, hopeful, open to a world he never imagined. The sun begins to rise. A new story waits to be told. And you, yes, you, are already part of it. If you've ever felt left out, if you've ever wondered if you truly belong, know this: the story of the sacred has always been yours. It's just waiting for you to step inside. Are you ready to walk forward? Let's follow the dawn to the next page, the next question, the next revelation, where the ancestral drums still echo and the roots of the divine run deep in your bones. What happens when history rewrites your gods as demons? How does a spirit survive when its name is scorched from the page, its image broken, its stories retold as nightmares in someone else's tongue? Picture a night, heavy with the smell of burning paper. The flames leap, pages curling, words turn to ash before they ever reach your lips. A statue, your mother's God, your grandmother's hope, shatters on cold stone, fragments echoing with memories that no one will name. You want to scream, but even your prayers feel forbidden now. Listen closer. There's a woman, maybe a mother, maybe a priest, maybe just a daughter, watching as the world she trusted is broken apart. She clutches a single piece of what was once sacred, the face of a goddess, now chipped and battered, but still holding that look of calm power. She remembers the songs, the incense, the stories told at dusk, all silenced in a single season of violence. In the dark, she whispers, if you erase a people's gods, you erase their dignity, their memory, their future. But nobody listens. Centuries later, on a cold Sunday morning, a young black man steps into a church in America. He glances up at the stained glass, every face white, every saint a stranger. He bows his head, but his mind drifts. He thinks of stories his grandmother told, of ancestors who danced and called on God with drums, not organs, of mothers who carried faith in their bodies, not in books written by conquerors. He wonders, where do I fit in this picture? Is there a space for my roots here? He tries to pray, but the words don't fit. They're borrowed, worn thin by centuries of erasure. It's not just his story. All across time, the sacred feminine is recast as a witch. Black Madonnas are locked in crypts or painted over. Priestesses disappear from memory, their rituals condemned as superstition, their wisdom rewritten as sin. Whole books are left untranslated, their secrets held hostage by those who would rather the world forget. Do you feel it? That ache, that loss, the sense of something precious taken before you even knew it was yours? This isn't just history. It's trauma carried in the bones, a silence passed down in whispers. It's what happens when power fears the sacred, when the gods of a people are demonized so the people themselves can be ruled. And still, in stolen moments, fragments of the old ways survive. Someone sings an ancient lullaby, not knowing the words or prayers. Someone lights a candle, traces a sign, feels the shiver of memory in their blood. These are acts of resistance, even if they don't know why. The world says, forget, start over, let go, but the soul resists. It mourns what is lost, gods, names, languages, songs. It grieves for black Madonnas hidden from sight, for ceremonies erased, for the loss of a future that could have been whole. This is spiritual colonization, the forced rewriting of faith, the violence of having your gods renamed as devils, your wisdom recast as darkness, your belonging turned to exile. You're told, be grateful you were saved, but you were not lost. Your story was silenced. And so you walk, centuries later, carrying a spiritual hunger no new story can fill. You see it in faces around you, the yearning for something real, for roots, for a place at the altar that welcomes all your ancestors, not just the ones history prefers. The pain of erasure is not just the loss of a past, but the theft of a future, of dignity, of memory, of possibility. Yet even as the drumbeat fades, even as the pages must burn, the sacred finds a way. It hides in dreams, it hums in lullabies, it stirs in the blood each time you ask, have you ever felt disconnected from your roots? By the stories you inherited? Have you ever wondered why your own reflection was missing from the stained glass? Why your ancestors' prayers were called curses? Why your gods were called monsters? If you feel this, you are not alone. Millions, have walked this silent path. But every story remembered, what if the buried truth can rise again? What if what was stolen from your soul could be found, lifted from the dust, and set ablaze with new life? Morning breaks, soft gold pushing back the darkness. You hear it before you feel it, a single drum, then another, then a heartbeat echo across the city, through windows, over highways, into kitchens and church halls. A new day for old stories. In a quiet room, a group of young black friends gather, DNA kits on the table, nervous laughter in the air. They swab, seal, mail, and wait, curiosity and longing pulsing beneath every gesture. What are we hoping to find? Some say answers, some say names, but deep down, they're all seeking a way home. Later, one of them, her name is Ava, steps into a church she's never dared to enter before. Stained glass flickers with the colors of sunrise. But what catches her breath, what stops her heart, is the painting above the altar. Jesus with dark skin, strong features, kind eyes that mirror her own. She stands frozen, the pews empty, yet for a moment she's not alone. A tear slips down her cheek, tracing years of stories she never heard. She feels something settle in her bones, a belonging that was always hers, but was hidden, like a treasure beneath centuries of ash. She closes her eyes and prays, not with borrowed words, but with a voice that feels ancient and brand new. In cities and small towns across America, the drumbeat spreads. Juneteenth celebrations light up neighborhoods. Old spirituals ring out, not just as memories of suffering, but as songs of victory, songs that call the ancestors back. Communities gather for Afro-spiritual revivals. Candles flicker, incense rises, hands are held, pain and hope braided together. And everywhere the movement grows. A young man starts a healing circle, pouring water into a bowl, whispering blessings his grandmother taught him. A mother weaves cowrie shells into her daughter's hair, telling her, "These were worn by queens." Friends meet by moonlight, honoring ancestors with stories, food, and laughter, reclaiming rituals almost lost. The Black Jesus movement. Walls once covered in colonial art now bear new faces: Jesus, Moses, the Queen of Sheba, all depicted as they might have truly looked. The feeling in those rooms changes. No longer strangers, no longer exiles. A generation reclaims its place at the altar. To reclaim is to heal. To name what was stolen is to restore what was wounded. And as one person stands, another follows. As one story is reclaimed, 1,000 more wake up. This isn't just about finding lost objects or celebrating heritage. It's about spiritual memory returning to the body. It's about undoing erasure with every candle lit, every story retold, every song sung in the language of the heart. It's about defying the lie that says you must forget, that says what is African can never be sacred. Across America, the Roots revival is real. It looks like young people tracing their family trees, discovering grandmothers who led church choirs, great uncles who were healers, cousins who kept old traditions alive in secret. It feels like a healing you didn't know you needed, a breath, a lifting, a coming home. But this journey isn't only personal, it's communal. As you reclaim your roots, you invite others to remember theirs. You heal by helping others heal. You find freedom by making space for every ancestor to sit at the table. So let me ask you, what would you reclaim if you knew your legacy had been erased? If you could meet your ancestors in a dream tonight, what would you ask them? Would you ask them for their stories, for their courage, for their blessing? The sun climbs higher. The music grows. Slow motion, you see faces, old, young, uncertain, radiant, all turning toward the light, all carrying the memory of something sacred, something that will not die. In this moment, maybe you feel it too. A call to remember. A call to rise. The story isn't finished, and neither are you. The next chapter is waiting. Step forward. Bring your candle, your song, your question, your hope. Let the light spread. Let what was buried be awakened. Let the drumbeat guide you home. Can the Creator speak in more than one tongue, one color, one name? Can the light at the beginning of all things split into 1,000 colors, each a language, a memory, a song? A soft rain ends and sunlight breaks through. Somewhere, a rainbow flares over the city. Its colors stretch, bend, and fall across rooftops, windows, and faces turned upward. In a small church, the light refracts through stained glass, blues, reds, golds, greens, dancing on every skin. There's laughter, the murmur of prayers, and then the hush of people gathering, black, white, Latino, Asian, shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand, eyes bright with the glow of shared hope. On the screen above the altar, words begin to appear, floating gentle as petals. Yahweh, Olomare, Zambi, Elohim, Naim, Adonai, Creator, Mother, Father, Spirit. Some names ancient, some familiar, some whispered only in dreams. 4 friends stand together in the aisle, talking softly after the service. One has a cross around her neck, another wears beads from her grandmother's homeland, a third traces the name Yahweh on his phone, the fourth hums a song in Swahili. Listen in for a moment as if you're one of them. You ever think God hears us in all these different languages? I do. My grandma used to say, God answers every name you call as long as you mean it. And what if the God of my ancestors isn't so different from yours? That's what I'm starting to believe. Maybe we've spent too long building walls when God was always building bridges. A silence, not empty, but full, a breath of understanding. Someone smiles. Another wipes away a tear. A third presses her palm to her heart. Outside, people spill into the street, still held by the warmth of that space. In another church, a congregation gathers for a unity service. Hymns blend with African drumming. Prayers for peace are lifted in Spanish and English, Yoruba and Shona. Old men bow their heads. Children clap their hands. Elders pour libations for ancestors lost and found. The music rises, one sound built from many voices. The Bible itself offers a hint. He is called by many names. Acts 18:26-28 tells us, From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth. For in him we live and move and have our being. Genesis 1 says, Let us make humankind in our image. Not one image, but countless faces. There are interfaith gatherings in cities from Atlanta to Oakland, from Houston to Harlem. Muslim, Jew, Christian, Seeker, all standing in the circle, honoring the same Creator, each in their own way. An Afro church in Detroit holds a special night. Hymns mixed with ancestral chants. The Lord's Prayer followed by a call and response in you. Candles are lit, hands joined, prayers woven from 1,000 traditions. And everywhere the motif returns. Connection, not exclusion. Bridges, not barriers. You don't have to abandon your faith, just open a new window. You don't have to trade the love of Jesus for the wisdom of Olamari or the reverence for Yahweh for the embrace of Zambi. You can honor your roots and reach for the sky. Because the truth is, spirit speaks every language, wears every color, sits at every table, answers every cry. You are part of a tapestry of faith, woven with golden clay, with dreams and scars, with stories older than memory. Each thread matters. Each name matters. You matter. Where do you see yourself in this tapestry of faith? Are you standing on the shoulders of ancestors, or reaching out to a friend whose prayers sound different, but whose heart is just as hungry for peace? Are you searching for your place, or opening your arms to others who need to belong? Watch the light flicker. Close up on faces, tears and smells, the trembling hands of old women, the joy in children's laughter, the eyes of men who have walked long roads and still choose to hope. Outside, the rainbow lingers, reminding you the Creator never chose just one color, one name, one people. The promise was always for all. Let the music fade, the voices soften, and the camera draw in on you. Right here, right now, loved and chosen, invited to step through every door, to call God by every name that makes your soul sing, and to welcome others into this great unfolding story. And as the scene closes, let the last light glimmer on your face. You are not alone. You belong to the God of many names, and the journey is just beginning. The final page turns, and the story's breath slows. The flicker of light travels across the last line, and in that hush, both the drumbeat and your own heartbeat find a quiet peace. But this journey isn't just about gods erased or names the world tried to forget. It's about something much more lasting, reclaiming the sacred story inside you, the part no one can erase, no matter how hard they try. No empire, no system, no power on earth can take away your spiritual memory, your right to belong, your connection to what is holy. This is your inheritance, your root, your birthright. Maybe for too long, the world told you that your story didn't matter, that your ancestors were lost, that your God had only one name, one face, one home. But the truth is, every name and every face adds a new verse to this song of faith. Your spiritual identity is real. It belongs to you, and it belongs to every person who dares to remember. So tonight, as the book closes and the lights fade, I ask you, what legacy will you leave for the world to remember? Will your story be erased and silenced, or will it shine for generations yet to come? Will you hide the truth that pulses in your bones, or will you help others find the courage to reclaim their own? If something in this story moved you, if a memory sparked or a longing stirred, share your roots or your spiritual journey in the comments below. Let your words become seeds for someone else's healing. Like, subscribe, and join our circle of seekers, where every story is welcome and every root matters. Together, let's reclaim, let's heal, and let's tell the stories no one else dares to tell. Because when you remember where you come from, you help the world remember who it can become. You are not just the end of a story. You are the beginning of a new one. Let your light join the chorus. The sacred story continues